What?
Didn't you hear?
Oh, is that the dog?
Yeah.
I mean, how many loops do you think he does through here in a day? Like, seriously, like, what do you think? Is there a number? It's got to be.
Well, no, the thing is at night, he comes down here multiple times.
Right, so the course of a day, 10 times?
Maybe. One time he got so upset that he was put to bed before he could do his loop.
I know, I've done it a couple times to him because he got, he has a schedule. Everybody's got a schedule, It's cold out here. I think I'm going to be okay. Should I take the hat off?
Do you?
Can they see me? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
Okay, well that's fine. Everybody's just going to have to live with it then. And let's start trucking.
Well, let's do wrist check then.
Oh yes, wrist check. Mine is the result of a week of wrist testing. Okay, who's doing what?
I guess I'll go first this time. Look at the blueness.
Ooh, actually, that gives me an opportunity to talk about something.
Whoa.
Where in the heck did I put it?
But what?
Is it over here?
I don't know.
Where in the heck did I put it? Aha! So check this out. I don't often get a chance to show these together. So this is 6105 slim case, 8,000, right? If you look at the pip, the surface of the pip is flat, like an ice skating rink. If you look at this, this is the other variant. Insert pip. I almost never see them. Not almost never, but it's called I call it the fisheye. It's the fisheye pip. And so you just don't see them very often, but if you do come across a 6105 slim case and it has that fisheye pip, that's real. And it's also not even 1 in 20, maybe even less. I mean, I can't even think of a real thing. You just don't see them as often as you used to. Oh, though I do kind of associate them sometimes with service pieces. And this watch that I'm putting together absolutely has a number of service items in it. So it could be that that's a service pip because they seem to show up whenever. They don't seem to be bound to a time. And for me, 5246. I've been wearing it every minute of every day except for the shower, etc. Since I finished it, so 7 days, it has gained 23 seconds, so a little better than 3 seconds a day. And so I'm going to go back in and pop it open and see if I can get it just dialed in just a hair. I'm just shocked and amazed at how much I like this watch. It's like all of a sudden this configuration came together and it was just like, it's just, before it just looked like weird and trashy, and it's elegant. I really like it. I really, really like it. Beautiful piece. Okay, that's the end of our wrist check. Okay, well folks, it's really chilly out here, so you're going to see me with Mr. Hat on, and I still can't believe that I lost my Boston hat.
I don't know where it went. You lost it years ago.
No, but it was in the parking lot of the gym. I swear that's what it was.
I haven't seen it in years.
I had a baseball cap that I bought right before the start of Game 4 of the 2004 World Series, and they were out there on Yucky Way. They had vendors and they were selling throwback caps, including one. It was like the 1950. So it was just the red bee and wool felt on the front. Man, I wore that thing everywhere for years, and then one day it was just gone.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I remember when we had the dresser in the living room. I remember it being in there, but then we got rid of that dresser and moved everything, but that's the last place I can remember seeing it.
I don't know. I swear that it got left at the gym or something, or I dropped it in the parking lot and then it was gone. Well, anyway, who cares? It was just a hat. So it is wrist check, and it's a Diggy, Mr. Diggy Doggy. What's up, Mr. Dogamus? Give me a rocket. Come here. No, I'm not getting off your chair. All right, do you have a Come on, give me a question.
Oh, okay. A question. Okay.
That's the sound of one dog butt clapping.
Okay, so this is from the video for the 6105-8110.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Matt Cameron 9349.
Okay.
There is just something so satisfying in this. I would much rather have a watch that has lived a life and has a story to tell over a luxury watch fresh out of a boutique.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I really do. A brand new watch to me, it's just like, I don't know, it's not a living thing.
But you can make it into a living thing.
I haven't ever really successfully done that I can remember. Well, I can't remember, I mean, besides something, utilitarian, like a video game system. But having stuff, brand new from new, like a personal item like that, I can't think of anything. I've owned them, but I've not really liked them too much. Well, I beat the heck out of my SUN019. I got that thing brand new. Mm-hmm. But I made a commitment to myself that I was going to treat that watch like a regular working watch, which I have done, and it's not really beaten up. I just went through and cleaned it, but it's a little too big for me to wear. But yeah, those you get, there's that idea in Japanese aesthetics about the beauty of a thing being contained in its imperfections, in the uniqueness that that kind of wear can give to an object, and it has this feeling of time, and of just a little bit of a look into someone else's life. I don't know. I just think it's really interesting, and everyone becomes unique, and so you can perceive those same beautiful design elements of that watch, specifically the 6105, and the changes in wear that comes through use, makes it gives it a little bit of a voice. Sorry, I can really wax philosophical about this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm dealing with a dog trying to get the peanuts out of my lap. He keeps batting at me.
Does he?
Yeah, that's what he does when he wants something and you're next to him, he bats at you. But then sometimes it's just because he wants to have his hand held.
He likes having his hand held.
And every morning, when he wakes up, the dog goes rushing in, and Spencer has to.
I have to sit. Rocket has to sit here, and I put my arm around him, and he leans into me, and he sort of puts his nose under my chin, or sometimes he'll bury it under my arm, and he just and he'll actually go. But it's got to be done. If that doesn't happen every morning, then it's not a smooth day.
He's gonna kill me. Look how close he is to my peanuts. You're gonna take a picture and you can put it in.
Okay, we're gonna put in a picture of the diggy. That was cute. All right.
Okay. This is in the video for the Seiko 4006 7027 Jewel Restoration.
Boy, you're right. There's a lot of bellmatic talk these days.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Just like last month, we were like, oh, bellmatics. Who talks about bellmatics? Man, people have been talking about bellmatics. I'm sorry I interrupted.
We had to stop because of Sebastian, and then I got my mittens. Anyway, so let's try this
You
again.
made those, didn't you?
Yeah, I made them last year.
She knitted those.
From my Merkia Floria 7978. Hi, I've just purchased a Bellmatic 4006 6040 and realized that the date quick set is not working. The seller is saying that not all Bellmatics have a quick set for the date, but I did some research and it should work by pressing in the alarm button. Everything else works perfectly fine, like alarm, weekday adjustment, keeping perfect time. It's just that the alarm button is not moving inwards at all from the ordinary position, no matter how hard I push. Will it be an easy fix? Thank you for your help.
Oh, so all bellmatics use that alarm button for the quick set on the date, period. He's selling you a bill of goods on that. You can't push the button in at all. Can you pull it out? I'd be curious to see if it's engaged whatsoever. It should go in. If it's like, if you were talking like you're trying to push that button and to do a quick set, and maybe it didn't push the date far enough to like click over, that'd be one thing, but you can't push it in at all. Well, that's not correct. It's not supposed to be that way. It needs to be able to go in all the way. So find out if it'll come out. But whatever, that all that aside, I'm sorry, the seller is wrong, and he either inadvertently or whatever gave you false information.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the how I clean and recondition old leather straps.
I hope that wasn't too silly for people.
Wait, why was it silly?
Well, because I took an old beaten up leather strap and I went through it. I did all this work to make it all super, nicer. And it feels a lot nicer. I don't think it really necessarily, it looks better, but it's not like, oh my God.
What? But you were so excited and
I am
happy
excited.
doing it.
Yeah, I am, because I've looked at that strap. Man, I've had that strap in the box for, I don't even know how long.
Wow.
10 years, 12 years, 15 years. I've never worn it, but I've never gotten rid of it. So now it's actually, it's decent enough to wear. It was a Chrysler product.
The car company?
No, like Chrysler Stellux. Krei. Chrysler. Boy.
When did Chrysler go out of business? Cars.
I believe Chrysler still exists.
They do?
I believe they do, but man, there's nothing like the Chryslers from the late 50s. Remember, I was in North California, living those days, and I went to some junkyard. It was across the Bay Bridge in, it was kind of close to Emeryville-ish, which was a desolate wasteland at that time. But man, they had all this stuff that had never, ever been crushed. It had just been sitting there.
Oh, they do exist.
Including all these beautiful Chryslers in the late 50s. Where they were insane. They had these big fake molded spare tires into the lid of their gigantic trunk. So it wasn't actually a spare tire, but it looked like one. And they had big fins. They were something. I
feel so dumb now. Like, they don't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, why would you know anything or want to know anything about car companies?
There's not, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just like, the car models that you like, and there's no need for you to know. I mean, unless you want more material to be able to, chat with Sebastian about cars, you don't need to, you can know as much as you want.
God, so we have a Nissan Murano, and last year, I think he was still 5 at that point. He was like, "Mommy, what kind of car is this?" And I was like, "It's an SUV, whatever." "No, it's not." And I was like, "Yes, it is." "No, it is not an SUV. It does not have a big back." And then we were driving, and he's like, "That is an SUV."
Really?
And then when we got home,
Well, go on.
No, when we got home, I looked it up, and it's a crossover. And I was like, "You were right. I was wrong."
That's wild. It's crazy. He can name all the car badges, all of them that he sees. He knows them all.
And I thought he didn't know what a Zamboni was. And he was like,
Does he?
Yeah, he's like, "Mommy, that goes on ice."
Well, I wonder where he learned that. Anyway.
Oh, right, we were doing leather.
Oh, we were talking about leather. Anyway, it's fun. It made that strap that I hadn't ever worn. I made it very, very, very wearable, and it's on my 62 MAS.
Anyway.
Because I like divers on leather. What are you laughing about?
I'm laughing that we just went off on this giant tangent, and then you're like, okay.
We both have really fairly serious ADHD, and so it's one of the reasons we get along so well. We also had pretty similar childhoods, unfortunately. But again, it's also one of the reasons we get along so well. This is literally how we talk when we're with each other. This is how we speak. You're not seeing anything different or any kind of manufactured characters or anything like that. This is life with us. This is what we sound like. This is what we talk like. This is what we do. So sometimes we speak in ways and at speeds that can, confuse or upset or annoy people. So sorry about that, but this isn't an act.
Do our children do what we do?
I don't know. I understand every single word. I mean, do they all speak at our same speed? Sebastian doesn't.
No. Well, he still has...
He's still a young person.
Okay.
Was that the mail?
That's the mail. Anyway, leather straps, don't say anything. From Ronin7106. Thanks, Spencer. Very interesting. I eagerly await the continuation of this video/info. Do you let them dry naturally, or do you let them dry timed in the sun or through some other means? I use mink oil on my straps and my leather shoes. Does that work similarly for watch straps if I follow the same method? Thanks. I have emu oil.
She has emu oil. Is that like for like keeping your nose clear or something?
No, other stuff, but we're talking about oil, and he said mink oil, and but I didn't know if you'd want the emu oil to...
Well, I don't know. Actually, the funny thing is I own mink oil. I've owned mink oil for decades. I've never used it. I don't know what it is. I don't understand it. I don't know what it's for. I don't know why you'd want to rub like liquid oil on leather. I mean, unless you're making... I don't know. It always seemed weird to me. I've never used it. So, no, I tell a lie. I used it one time. I got a brand new catcher's mitt when I was like in 4th grade, and I used mink oil on that thing.
I'm guessing it worked?
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. No problems.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, mink oil. No, he had some other questions.
No, do you let them dry naturally, or do you time them and have them in the sun?
I literally kind of put them aside, and typically I'll forget about them until they find them again. I don't really like to try to speed that process up, which you can do by like using like warm air or, you know, heat. You can put them in the sun, but I mean the sun, that's a lot of energy to put into an old piece of leather. I just let it sit. There's no rush. I mean, if it's been here for 12 years, it doesn't matter if it takes a few more days. I just let it sit till it seems like it's not absorbing anymore. And once it seems like it's not taking anything in, then that's when I'll start, you know, brushing it down and cleaning it up. But mostly I just don't rush it.
Okay. From Trooper Bill, what are good vintage watch strap bands to look out for?
Wow. Well, obviously, ones that haven't been abused for sure. But, you know, the thing is used watch straps, they don't really come up that often. I have so many of them because of all the years of buying watch lots. And all these watch lots come in, and all these, you know, old man, you know, grandpa's watch, and it's still on his strap. So, like, I mean, the strap right here, the strap that you saw with wrist check, this is vintage. It's elephant hide. It's the reason I can't get rid of it, actually, because I love elephants, and I just can't get rid of it. But it's beautiful. But it's a Speidel. You can find vintage Speidels. You can find vintage Chrysler straps. You can look under vintage straps. You don't look under for like Rolex or Omega because they'll be $1 bajillion. You can look for some of the Japanese strap brands like Maruman. There were some beautiful straps put up by Hamilton in the 40s and the 50s, but they tend to be kind of skinny. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's 1 million, billion, trillion, kabillion straps on eBay. I don't know what it's like on
Would
Etsy.
it be like cheaper to buy a watch lot and get the strap than buy the individual strap?
I mean, maybe,
and then
but
you
just,
have like
but
30. What were they next? Something Nelsonic. I did the video on that.
on the Nelsonics, yeah. Oh, no, well, you see, the thing is, you don't know what you're getting, and most of those watch lots that are coming from, you know, Grandpa are just they're going to be pretty beaten. Oh, I never made the point. But anyway, I don't know. This thing, it's just, you gotta, if you're going to get a vintage strap, it has to, you've got to make sure it's in one piece. These Speidel straps, they're a great value. I mean, because you can even get new old stock, never worn Speidel straps from the 50s and 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. Some of the West German ones, a lot of the American ones, and there's just a huge amount of variety. You're going to come up with a lot of new hits. If you try to get into the vintage stuff, you know, cut your search a couple different ways. Yeah, vintage Speidel is that's the stuff, man.
Okay. From Sidewalk Astronomy Netherlands. We use gun oil for that.
Yeah, I saw your other comment too, and you said basically the same thing, that you use gun oil for everything. Leather, metal, wood. And I'm like, why would you put gun oil in wood? Because it's not like, say, teak oil, right? Where it's gonna turn into a shellac or something. It would just be oily, wouldn't it? I mean, I understand for gun stocks, sure. I mean, how can you avoid it? But I mean, I have a World War II bolt action, and I spent, how long did it take me? Remember when I was scrubbing that thing and
Oh
soaking
God, it was like days.
days and days and days to get all the oil out of that wood, because it had been, it was World War II, and it got worked over, and then it was somebody's squirrel gun or something for a long time, and I oiled the hell out of it. It took me days to get most of the oil out of there. I could have gone further, because I guarantee that there's more in there. So, but
Going the distance.
Daini, wait, I think I'm the wrong key. Is that the right key? I think that's the right key.
No, I don't have a good ear. Okay, Mr. Gino Hydra. Certainly an interesting idea to use lanolin. I've used Swiss Rex Milsurp leather wax because it softens the leather greatly. Likely highly acidic, as you said, but I seldom use leather products in the Middle Eastern climate. Might try lanolin for the second treatment.
Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, thinking about, Middle Eastern environment, actually, I was thinking about leather when I was doing this, because during World War II, when our troops and the British and the Brits went into North Africa, because that's where the Germans were, all their stuff for the most part was web gear, woven cloth gear, stuff like this, which is great. It's perfect for the desert. The Germans, who were stuck in the 19th century, uniform-wise, at that point, everything was leather, and it just rotted to pieces. It dried out and cracked and fell to pieces, and they had to regonculate their entire, thing, because everything had been made of leather, all their gear, and now they had to go to web. And that probably was not a very smart idea. So that's interesting to have you to hear that.
Mm-hmm. To basically confirm.
Yeah, basically. On the other stuff, the wax that you were talking about, I wonder if there's a way to find out what the pH on it is. Or, something I realize I also don't know, is how is that acidity carried, and how does it affect the piece of leather? But I'd be interested in pH. Could you neutralize the pH? Would there be a point to neutralizing the pH so you could use the same thing but without the softening? I don't know. I think life is too complex.
Yeah. Okay, so we just did that one. From Pharaohman 007, I use Picard or is it Peckard?
Peckard.
Peckard.
Mr. Peckard. Mr. Pickard.
Yeah,
that's it. That's how it went.
Okay, well, how do you pronounce is it Peckard?
I always say
Picard?
Picards. I always say Picards. Not like Captain Picard, but it's just, I don't know, Picards. In my head, it has kind of a, a Yankee twang to it.
Oh, whatever. He uses that on just about all his leather stuff, and he loves it.
Yeah, I love Picards. When I first learned about it, was from a guy who did a lot of World War II, museum work, artifact work. And he said, oh yeah, I use this because this is the only thing the Smithsonian uses, because it doesn't damage leather. And I'm like, I am 100% about not damaging leather. So that's the only product I've used since. Though I do polish over it sometimes with, Kiwi, shoe polish. I wonder if that stuff is acidic. I don't know. Another quest for knowledge is on the horizon.
Whatever. Okay, now it's the 7828 restoration.
Okay, good. Okay.
From Last Nine Breaker. Hi, Spencer. Thank you for the wonderful service. Can't wait to get it back. Question and a comment for your next mail call. I noticed that the dial on this model is slightly different from the common models, After some glossing over, I see that the numeral indices are more cut off by the subdials. Any idea what Seiko did different on the dial to make such a small change? Also, it's interesting about the fingerprint. I bought new old stock Seikos with tags and stickers in the past, and I've noticed a couple with fingerprints on the dial. It makes me wonder if production workers in the 60s and 70s didn't wear gloves during assembly, or at least when handling parts coming off of the production line.
Well, you know, that's crazy, actually. That's it was this watch, that fingerprint. I mean, if that was truly, if the watch had never been opened and it had never been serviced or whatever, you know, looking at those pieces where it was hiding, it's very rare. I don't really ever see that. I can't ever remember seeing fingerprint. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm going through this verbally because I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've ever seen a fingerprint on a dial. Hands have always been immaculate, as long as the watch's original had never been touched.
Well, you know, there's always a mess up.
Always a mess up, and you know, we don't really know the whole history. It only takes one case back tool to go, and you have it off, and off you go from there. They're beautiful, beautiful watches. As for the dial setup, Seiko had no problem whatsoever with, I mean, they still don't, with, you know, making a minor change to a part for a small run of watches. And they would just do it, especially stuff like dials. Though your watch was part of this sort of span of watch stuff that was culminated with Seiko's Age of Discovery, which is like, you know, Columbus and Magellan and ancient, you know, old style globes with the yellowing thing and, you know, dead man's chest and all that stuff. Anyway, so it was called Age of Discovery, and they had a lot of these throwback watches. And yours is very much like that. It's supposed to have sort of a throwback, elegant, early age of exploration feel to it. My understanding is that your model was specifically for the... Oh, she's mad.
She's really mad.
Boy, she's mad.
Why is she mad?
Well, because her whole thing's jacked up because I moved everything. I got it. Look at how mad she is. She's so mad. I know. Anyway, your watch apparently was made only for the Italian market. And interestingly, the Italian market has often gotten unique models. The Italian chronographs were certainly a good example of that. I don't know, that they would make probably the numbers a little bit bigger and just run it, you know, run that stuff through. It was pretty much all screen printed, so it doesn't take too long to come up with a different print. I don't remember. No, I do remember. No, the dial's the same exact size. Yeah, they would just change font stuff. I mean, it's amazing the little teeny tiny changes that Seiko would do in right next to each other, but not quite the same models.
She's so mad that she left. She'd rather be in the cold than look at you.
She couldn't even stand to look at me because her house is all messed up.
Here, well, why don't we, like, here, put the pictures that I took? Okay, for the video for the Daini 5246 25 jewel high beat. The question is from NGHDSJD. Interesting to see the barrel arbor sizes were standardized across these wildly different movement designs. Mm-hmm. I've always wondered why the 25 jewel 52XX movements bothered to jewel the port on the bridge but not the main plate. Could it have something to do with how the ratchet wheel is on the wrong side of the movement?
It could well be. There's a few reasons why we see so much wear in the 6000 series, which is like your 6139 chronographs, 6138, 6105 movements, 6106, all that stuff. They have a really high-powered mainspring because they are driving big wheels around. And it takes a lot of force. It's got the balance on those things, 6000 series, is the same it's almost identical to an Omega Speedmaster balance of that time. It's a big honking big balance. And so it takes a lot of power to push that train around. As a result, there's all this sideways pressure to sort of shear away from the mainspring barrel. That's what I'm doing with this. Also, the bottom end of that 6000 series arbor is a steel arbor in brass, and so it just eats its way sideways. But like, other watch models like 7000 series, I mean, they have much lighter strength mainsprings, so they're much less susceptible to having, to being pushed that way. Also, even though they're not jeweled, the mainspring arbor, they have bushings in place, and so a bushing is 10 times better than nothing whatsoever. But also, it takes.
What is a bushing?
A bushing is if you have I don't know, plate of metal. You're drilling a hole through a plate of metal, right? And then you're going to have your axle's going to get stuck through your plate of metal. Well, if your plate of metal that it's going in, which is structural, is like brass or something, easily eaten away, softer than, say, the steel of the shaft that you've got going in there, you put a bushing. So it's a ring of the same metal, and it gets forced into that place. It's like a bearing. Same thing as like the MG engines and all that stuff. It's a bearing face. So what that means is you can use a lighter or a less expensive material, brass or aluminum or whatever, but you don't have to worry about the wear. It's a big thing. Like clocks do that all the time. That's a real big thing you see in clocks, because also that means if the bushing wears, you can just press out the old bushing, press in a new one. Mm-hmm. You don't have to remachine the entire plate.
That makes complete sense.
And so, yeah, that's the reason. But having a bushing is way better than nothing, which is what the 6000 series has. I'm not sure why they decided to swap the parts over. Again, Seiko has no problem making, tiny changes and running a whole run of parts for it. Maybe it just so happened that the needs of the...
Many outweigh the needs of few.
It's true.
Or the one.
It may be that, they ran the math on what it was going to take to run this or that new movement and how much thing and whether or not that would be enough pressure to trigger the need to have a jewel, which is more cost in producing. And then, maybe they were like, oh, well, this other part will work. I would have to believe it'd be something like that, because Seiko's never shown any commitment to making one standardized part across an entire different range of stuff. What?
Nothing. It always makes me laugh. Like, I guess, why did they do it? Like, what would they make more money having different parts?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It seems inefficient.
It does seem very inefficient. And you get runs of watches, the 6000 series, for example, they're extremely common, but there's almost nothing different between them. But like the Daini movements, 5100 series, 5120, whatever, and the 5200 series, they're both really high-end, chronometer capable, low profile, Swiss winding, high-end movements, both of them. And they're utterly dissimilar. And yet they're the same size, and they would fit in the same place. But yet, and they're even in the same division, they're both from Daini. And they were made at the same time. I don't know. I don't understand it. And then you have the 5606. Granted, that's a Suwa product, but again, it's another one of these low profile, that size, like, I don't remember what lane, it's like 12 or something, I don't remember. But again, with the Swiss winding system, chronometer capable, because the 5646 is a Grand Seiko movement. Why do they have three movements that are extraordinarily complex? I don't know. It's a good question. And again, they would make the slightest changes just for fun. I was screwing around with it was a front loader watch. That means that the case, instead of you have the screw back and the movement comes out and the dial's on the top, you have it the other way, where the movement sits in basically like a bathtub. And then you have a clamshell case that snaps over the top of it. That's what this is. And so, what was my point?
I don't know.
You don't?
No.
I completely forgot where I was going
I
with that.
hate when that happens.
That is terrible.
I hate when that happens. I'll be like talking about something and then I'm like, I am so sorry. I have ADHD. I don't know what I was talking about.
Was I answering a question or we were just riffing?
No, you were answering something about, God, I almost said bellmatics. I don't even remember it's that one.
Actually, I answered the question.
Okay.
I did. So yeah, it's one of those things. It happened randomly. I'm sure there was a reason for it, but I don't know what.
From Slim2429. Your interest in the 56 series is good timing for me, as your videos on this series have been quite helpful for my servicing attempts. Just picked up a minty 5606 7000 from December 72 with the original bracelet. The date chain jar is working, which is nice. I cannot believe how cheap these are. Hacking, hand winding, thin profile, bi-directional winding, great design and finish.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to get that, but I can yap on this subject all day long.
Okay.
People have been asking and talking about, what are we going to collect, because a lot of the key models have gotten so expensive. You're exactly right. There are Seiko models out there, like this one, this watch right here. It's a chronometer grade movement. I just serviced it. I've been wearing it every day for 7 days. And it has gained 20 seconds in that time. It's about 3 seconds a day, something like that. So when I go back in and I readjust that, I should be able to get it even closer. And this watch was not expensive. And they're not that expensive. They really aren't. The biggest problem with 5606s and why nobody ever thinks about them is because they always hear that, oh, there's this problem with the date changer. People talk about it like it's, it's an unscalable cliff. It's not a big deal. Adrian Selleck from Vintage Time Australia makes metal replacements, and they're just staked together. And what that means is instead of like you screw something together, staked is it's just a friction fit. And it's pain in the ass to put them in, and they're a little complex in that area, but they're great movements. And you can get 5606s. They're just cheap. 5200s, you don't see those too much, but they're really cool. 5126s, there's a ton of them. Problem with the 5126s is most of them were dress watches. Pretty conservative ones. But they had a great run of sport divers, some really wacky ones. Some really cool ones. Even there's one that I think of as the Halloween. It's all black, and then the internal rotating ring is black and orange flashes. It's a really cool watch.
Why don't you insert a picture of it?
I will insert a picture of that watch. So as we see from that picture, apparently they're called the double hurricanes. Those are. But you don't see those too often. I can say that because I haven't paid that much attention, but I'm not familiar with that sub-variant. The general line of those 70-meter sport divers, though, they're like a couple $100. I mean, and I know a couple $100 is a couple $100, but that's not a lot of money in watch money. And they're original. And you can get them, and they're out there. And
I love how there's real money in watch money.
Well, it's the way it is, man. It's the way it is. Honey, I've spent $800 on a watch, and I was like, if I don't like it, it's $800.
Yeah, and then I wanted to buy an $800 couch, and he was like, "What?"
What? Well, you see, $1 in couch money is very different than $1 in watch money.
Well, yeah, especially when you have kids that destroy it.
We still have it. Someday it'll be recovered, and then they'll destroy it again.
They'll
No. Their kids will destroy it.
Oh, I was going to say that they'll be like in their 20s, and they'll be like, "I'm old enough to eat on the couch," and then there goes ranch dressing.
No. They're gonna bring the new junior over, and he is going to have double-barreled projectile something all over your brand new recovered couch.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm just gonna laugh.
Thanks. Anyway, now the Seiko Mystery backwards Daini symbol from CMB 8589. Well spotted. I wonder how many were stamped like that before someone in the factory noticed. I will check all my Daini casebacks. Surely a rare keeper there.
Okay, I'm going to break here and I'm going to have a segment about that thing because this is really interesting. This is, as far as I know, this is a new thing. And as far as I know, no one else has ever noticed this before. I've certainly never heard of it, but let's break for a second. So as we see from that picture, apparently they're called the double hurricanes. Those are, but you don't see those too often. I can say that because I haven't paid that much attention, but I'm not familiar with that subvariant. The general line of those 70-meter sport divers though are they're like a couple $100. I mean, and I know a couple $100 is a couple $100, but that's not a lot of money in watch money, and they're original. And and you can get them, and they're out there. And
I love how there's real money in watch money.
well, it's the way it is, man. It's the way it is. Honey, I've spent $800 on a watch, and I was like, if I don't like it, it's $800.
Yeah, and then I wanted to buy an $800 couch, and he was like, "What?"
What? Well, you see, $1 in couch money is very different than $1 in watch money.
Well, yeah, especially when you have kids that destroy it.
We still have it. Someday it'll be recovered, and then they'll destroy it again.
Yeah, they'll
No. Their kids will destroy it.
Oh, I was going to say that they'll be like in their 20s, and they'll be like, "I'm old enough to eat on the couch," and then there goes ranch dressing.
No. They're gonna bring the new junior over, and he is going to have double-barreled projectile something all over your brand new recovered couch.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm just gonna laugh.
Thanks. Anyway, now the Seiko Mystery Backwards Daini symbol from CMB 8589. Well spotted. I wonder how many were stamped like that before someone in the factory noticed. I will check all my Daini casebacks. Surely a rare keeper there. Okay,
I'm going to break here and I'm going to have a segment about that thing because this is really interesting. This is, as far as I know, this is a new thing. And as far as I know, no one else has ever noticed this before. I've certainly never heard of it, but let's break for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I reading the next thing?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. From Super Cruise, nice find. Even the U.S. Mint has missed strikes on coins that entered into circulation. I would say this is a rare original coming out of the factory that way.
Yeah, all I can think, as I will have said, when I will have filmed the segment that you just saw, it happened right in the period when everything moved from 7-digit serials to 6-digit serials. All of a sudden to Japan G started being marked up, and there was no Daini symbol, and then there was a Daini symbol. And the flipped, one other person now has said they have another one of these Kamen Riders with this flipped back. So I haven't seen it on any of the snap-on casebacks. So far, the only ones I'm aware that had it were in the 5126 line and were the regular 6-lug screw-ons. I can't believe I never noticed it. I can't. It's all. I mean, it's zoop. That's it. So it just makes it backwards. Somebody got the symbol from a design from Daini. Maybe those screwbacks were produced by Suwa. This was right at the time when the Daini and Suwa logos started being used, and maybe they made the thing, but they just flipped it over. I don't know what the technology was, but that watch is original. That's original. It's easy to understand why nobody else saw it before. I'm amazed it took me this long. It's one of the things where your brain fills in details and you just don't see it. I had to be looking right at it, and I was looking at the case condition and the condition of the printing because it was kind of worn, and I was looking at it really closely because I wanted to. I don't know. I just was looking at it. And then I was like, "Kabada."
You're funny. Okay, so now I go back up. Hold on, everyone. Okay, so these are not a video comment, non-watch related. So from Pluto or Bitdream, Spencer and Sabrina, thanks for mentioning my comment. Loving the telly. That Bigsby B16 setup is sweet. What brand style lipstick neck pickup do you have? I've got Curtis Novak pickups in one part of my telly and really like the sound of them. They are 5960s clones that he does. Also, I appreciate the input about the 6138. For what it's worth, Gresh is my wheelhouse. I do Gibson stuff too, but not as much. Thanks again for the shout out, Paul Setzer.
Yep, Paul Setzer. For those of you who don't know, Paul Setzer is a really cool guy. He lives in North Carolina, and he does kind of similar thing to what I do. Is he is sort of the major source of one-to-one perfect recreations of the floating pick guards that go on those big Gretsch guitars, you know, like Brian Setzer, the Stray Cats, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff, those big guitars. And that's what he does. He's a guitar dude. And that's really, you know, that's what he does. It's awesome. I don't know, actually, about the pickup, the lipstick pickup. I really can't tell you much about those pickups at all. The guitar was built by a friend of mine many years ago, and he loved to fiddle around and just sort of build stuff up. And the last time, I can't remember, when I took that thing apart to clean it, I don't remember seeing anything. But, you know, what's silly, it doesn't even work. He put some kind of custom 5-way switch in it, and it just, I can't get the front one to work, and I just haven't felt like messing with the, you know, the wiring on it. So, honestly, I don't know.
Okay. Last one. From Nielsen Gupta. Hi, Spencer and Sabrina. My question for next mail call is, 1, what is the difference between 7A and 7T? I have a 7T which I bought in my early collecting days thinking it was a 7A. Stupid me.
No, not stupid.
Well, keep that by you.
Oh, is that the question?
Well, no, there's 2 parts.
2 parts. Okay, sure. I'll be happy to break. In fact, I'll break right here. And does the next thing have to do with 7As or 7Ts?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Let's break, and I'll do a 7T versus 7A segment. It'll be a fast one. Okay. The 7A and the 7T. This one, these were first made in November of 1981, and they were made till about 1988, though production continued for the Royal Air Force because of their Gen 1 flight ones. This is a 7T327D19, the Sprocket, the mighty Sprocket. In these, they're a cool design. They're that rare sort of chrono diver, but you don't see that often. Real classic chronograph face, frosted Seiko, matte dial surface. They're cool, and they come with a really cool bracelet. So solid stainless, and this bracelet fits on a 6309 perfectly. Anyway, they're both chronographs. The 7A was the first analog quartz chronograph ever made. Seiko went all out when they did this one. By the time they created this one, or these movements, they realized that you don't need to have what this one does, which is all metal, 15 joules, all these insane, crazy extra stepper motors. You don't actually need all that stuff. That takes a lot of work and time to make something like that. You can go with plastic wheels, plastic plates, have it snapped together, bare minimum of metal, and then, but it'll run just as fine because the gear train in a quartz movement is unstressed. It's not like having a spring where it's always pushing. It's just going clunk, clunk, clunk. And quartz movements, they drive the hands backwards from how a mechanical. They start with the sweep hand, wherever it is. So it's got a ton of torque because it's going from the smallest to the largest. And so there's just not a lot of stress and strain on a 7T. But Seiko wanted to prove to the world what they were. They did a lot of work in the 1980s with just some amazing innovations. And they put them in movies. They were really pushing as hard as they could to get their product out there. But once they figured it out, and once everybody figured out Quartz, then Quartz kind of lost the mystique and didn't command the high price tags that some of these other ones did. So there's the 7A movement. It's a metal main plate. The movement has 16 jewels in it. You can see some of them. You can get some good light on this. Yeah. I don't like to debag if I don't have to. Come on, come out of there. I know. False alarm. Okay. Anyway, there is your 7A movement. Actually, why don't I use, oh shoot, yes, excellent. Right. Okay, there you go. So it's an all-metal movement. It's got multiple jewel settings, all these jewels, 15 jewels, completely unnecessary. All metal, completely unnecessary, apparently. But I think it feeds the soul to have real materials. So the main plate's metal. The mid-spacer plate is a green plastic of some kind. I should know, but I don't. Ooh, look at that. This movement's on service. Nobody freak out. I'll take care of all this stuff. So it's got this mid-case spacer, mechanical. It's got mechanical clicker, spring clicker, switchy things. And you've got the back plate the anti-magnetic plate is stamped steel. This is the main chronograph assembly with a no fooling friction spring to give it that real clean, chronograph snap and start. Here's a 7A main plate. This is from a rust bucket. Look at the engineering of this thing. Look at all the work. Can you imagine all the steps that had to be done to manufacture something like this? It's insane. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's an astonishing piece of engineering. The 70s are, like I said, they're part of a later family. They're primarily plastic. This one is roasted, so I don't have a problem touching it or fooling it. I think it's like super roasted. I just can't make myself do it. Stop fooling around. So it still shares that, that back plate kind of thing, the anti-magnetic plate that's going on there. Certainly it's a family resemblance. But these things, there's the mid plate of plastic is pretty much everything now. And you can see there's the front of it here. Beautiful, brushed metal. This literally is just plastic. Now, all that said, and people are going to think I'm complaining, and maybe they're right. It works perfectly fine. I mean, and they are still made to be worked on. They're more of a pain in the butt simply because the materials don't snap together so cleanly. That thing is as bolted together as a John Deere tractor. One of the old ones, not one of the new ones. So it's just a different piece of business. They're in my opinion, the 7As are overall, all things factored in, for me, the greatest quartz movement ever made. Okay.
And 2.
This is Nielsen Gupta question part 2.
You always have 2 baskets when you start disassembly. What goes into each?
I break down each section of a movement in the same way. One of the big things for any kind of consistency in any kind of manufacturing, hand manufacturing or big manufacturing, is consistency. To do it the same way every single time, it minimizes the chances of screwing up. So I do things the same way every time. It's just my system. Though, I should probably break and just put a segment here anyway, because then I can show off what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll do that. I'll just stop and put in a segment. Okay, the 2 baskets thing. It's not really 2 baskets, it's 6. But I rotate through them This is a 6105 81. I'm sorry, 8009 resist. It's the second. It's the second rarest slim case variant. The rarest being the 6105 6009 proof. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. But anyway, this one went through and it got, this was one, it was a late edition, in that it has actually has a B movement in it, which is really cool. It's like best of both worlds because they did come at the end with a B movement. But I'm fairly certain this is a service dial. It's undated on the back. That's definitely a set of Seiko hands. Well, they're not for this, but they're a sub, I guess. And its sweep was a pretty badly corroded 6309 sweep. I've since cleaned it up, and I've started working on the dial. But it also has the fisheye pip, which again, I wonder if that is a service insert, but I don't know. I just have no idea. Hold on, let's look at this. Okay, so the way I do this kind of stuff is I have my case back right here where all my neat things are. And then, because you have your 6-basket diddly, so you go around like this. So I have the weight and then the stuff for the winding weight, and I go on from there. I do it the same way every single time. This one on the right is going to be for whatever section I'm taking apart, the train bridge or the front, the calendar section, or the crown being taken apart or anything else like this. This left one, so when this one, it has all the parts that need to go in it, it goes away, I get another new basket. This one, they're the basic pieces that I need to start any restoration go in here. Center wheel bridge, cannon pinion, Diashock settings, Diafix settings if necessary, stuff like that. So that when I grab this, even though there are going to be parts from different sides of the watch, I'll be able to grab and go. Exactly what I need to do. So basically I can jump in. The process that anybody else uses, it doesn't have to be like this. This is just what works for me. And the big thing for me, again, is consistency. If I do a process, if I follow my own set of steps, the chances of my inadvertently forgetting something or screwing up are greatly dropped. So that's why I do it. So anyway, I'm going to start ripping apart 6105B. Not on camera, sorry folks, but this is my project for me. So I'm going to have fun and I'm going to do it. Yeah, this dial, it's already better than it was. I'm getting there. I'll insert a picture of this dial. Well, folks, that's it. That's it for a Friday. It's freezing cold. I hope you're whatever temperature you would like to be, wherever you are. I'm getting a little warmer.
Yeah.
Not much.
We were supposed to get a giant snowstorm, like the rest of the country got giant storms, and it went over. I don't even know how it did it. It's like here was the mountains, and here's us all the way down to Colorado Springs, and it like we're like this around the entire Front Range.
It happened. The Northern Front Range. My whole life. It's been like that. It's like I remember once I was driving. This has happened more than once. Driving north on I-25, coming north from Denver, and that's like 55 miles. And so, but it was in a blizzard. Woo! I was coming home. I was coming from Denver from an auditing job. And it was gnarly. And then I started getting up towards Highway 34, Loveland, and it started tapering. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got to the turnoff to come off the highway to go home, the streets were dry. I can't, no stories. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, do you know what was behind me? Like there were like wrecks and everything. It was bananas.
Were you in the shiny car?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was this little shoebox car that we had for a while. I was commuting all over. I put 100,000 miles on that thing in a year. Drove that thing all over the mountains.
Yep.
Poor shiny car.
Somebody bought it.
I hope so. So with that final word for the shiny car, we're gonna say adieu, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.